building on the basics. All right, so again, we're going to talk a little bit about our client with the 100-pound weight loss goal. So when we began working together, we started with basic nutrition education to help build her foundation of what are nutritious foods. We started with one aspect of her day that felt manageable to start reshaping her plates and incorporating more real food. So after this one area was dialed in, we focused on another area of her day to start improving on. These small, actionable items led to big improvements over time and were really key in helping her to work towards achieving her long-term goal. All right, so as we dive in, I want you to think, reflect on, now that you've gotten some understanding of what is your baseline, what are your goals, you have some understanding of some basic nutrition education, what are 1 to 2 habits that you want to focus on this month that are going to be key in helping you achieve your long-term goals? So building on those basics, we want you to come up with a list of real foods that you like. We want you to shop the perimeter of the grocery store when you go to incorporate more of those real foods into your day. When you go grocery shopping, it's helpful to not go grocery shopping when you're hungry. It's amazing when you go to the grocery store hungry how some of those delicious, sweetened, processed foods end up in your cart. When you grocery shop, we want you to look for sugar and artificial ingredients on your food labels. And then we want you to go into your week with a plan for healthy meals and snacks. So we're building on those basics and coming up with a plan for success. All right, so as a review, in the previous module, we talked about the plate method and the hand portion guide as a way to start reshaping our plates with good sources of non-starchy vegetables, lean proteins, complex carbohydrates, and healthy plant-based sources of fats. And the hand portion guides are one way that you can dial in your portion sizes of these different components. All right, so tips for grocery shopping. So why do we talk about shopping the perimeter? When we shop the perimeter, this is often where the real foods live, the non-processed, healthy foods, the real foods. Whereas in the center aisles, this is where more processed, sweetened things are that often contain higher amounts of sugar. So when you go to the grocery store, build awareness of your choices. Look at your food labels, look for different sources of sugar, and avoid shopping when you're hungry. All right, so meal planning. So we want to break down this complex concept of meal planning and break it down into steps. We want you to think about picking out some staples, things that you like that are different sources of carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. We want you to think about how to combine these in different pairings, and we want you to organize your list so that you're efficient when you go grocery shopping. So when we talk about staples, here's some examples of the different components: different proteins, starches, fruits, veggies, and healthy fats. Then we want to think about how to put these together. So when you plan your meals, think about keeping it simple by breaking it down into, hey, I need to come up with some balanced plates with picking a protein, a starch, a vegetable, and a fat. So often when we keep things simple, we come up with the components. This is a great way to then come up with a list for when we go grocery shopping of these different pairings. All right, so let's put it all together. So some tips for breakfast. So tips for breakfast, many people are into things like bacon and eggs. So bacon and sausage are often like higher fat meats. So swapping out bacon and sausage for leaner protein options like Canadian bacon or turkey bacon or chicken sausage is a great way to make healthier choices at breakfast. Whole eggs, instead of just whole eggs, you can mix whole eggs with egg whites for a more balanced, higher protein and lower fat option. So planning ahead, you can experiment with meal prepping, making things like overnight oats that have carbohydrates, proteins, and fats to deal with busy mornings. If you're anything like me, the last thing you want to do is cook a meal in the morning on a busy morning. So doing a little bit of meal prep for that busy time of your day is a great way to start your day with success. Adding in vegetables is sometimes really tricky with breakfast. So one way to do that, you can add in some non-starchy vegetables to things like omelets and scrambled eggs. You can also try out sweet potato toast with mashed avocado, scrambled egg whites for a different balanced breakfast. The idea here is that you're choosing whole foods from the food options guide and not food products. All right, so then lunch and dinner. Here's some tips for those meals. Again, we want to choose some lean sources, things that you like chicken, turkey, pork loin, fish, and shrimp. Instead of pasta that we all love, you can make healthier choices and incorporate more veggies by trying out spaghetti squash, zucchini spirals, or other veggie noodles in place of pasta. Some of these are already made for you in packages at the grocery store too. Another option instead of regular rice to incorporate more veggies is trying cauliflower rice to add in more of the non-starchy vegetables in your diet. Adding in healthy fat, adding in some avocado or guacamole is a great way to add in some healthy fat. Beware of different sauces, dressings, and gravies that contain excessive fat, sugar, or sodium. Try to recreate these in a healthier way instead. So again, we're looking at incorporating more whole foods and not food products into our lunches and dinners. How about snacks? So snacks, like your meals, we want to think about creating snacks out of the different healthy carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. We want you to rethink your snacks. So these can be smaller versions of your meals. So oftentimes going into your day with a plan is a great way to stay on track. So like your meals, you can prep and plan your snacks to avoid eating high sugary or processed foods as snacks when you're feeling hungry. So plan a snack at the time of the day when you might be tempted to eat unhealthy foods or at a time of the day that may prevent you from overeating later in the day. Here's some examples of some balanced snacks. Things that contain carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. Fat-free yogurt with berries and almonds, rice cakes, hummus, and deli meat, and beef jerky with a clementine. All right, so what about recipes? A lot of us really like to cook, but we want to make recipes that are also really healthy for us. So when we prepare a recipe, think about incorporating more lean sources of protein instead of the moderate or high fat proteins. Refer to your food options guide for those proteins in the green box. Then we want you to choose some lean loin cuts, low fat contents, low fat content ground meats. Trim the fat off of the meat before you cook it. That'll help to lower the fat content. If a recipe calls for butter, swap that out, or animal fat for plant-based healthy fats like olive oil. Utilize more whole grains instead of refined grains. For example, brown rice, quinoa, and oatmeal instead of things like white rice. We want you to use more whole foods in place of processed packaged foods. Use fresh instead of canned, and make your own sauces or salad dressings instead of purchasing those items. We also want you to load up on non-starchy vegetables. If they don't work with your recipe, you can always incorporate those as a side dish. When you make a recipe, try to grill, bake, slow cook, or air fry as a preparation method rather than deep frying. All right, so for you as a resource, we're providing you with a meal planner worksheet to help you to plan out your weeks with some balanced meals. That'll be a great resource to take with you when you grocery shop. Your next steps after completing this module are to post a weekly plan for your healthy meals. What are breakfasts, lunches, and dinners and snacks looking like for you this week? We want you to post your photos of your weekly grocery cart to the group or share that with your coach.